I'd like to thank my teammates over the years, my coaches, and of course my family. It's because of all of them I'm here making my 200th appearance for this great club. It's been some journey.
Ready for this?
Yep, let's do it. I started playing football when I was 6. It all came about just watching my dad play pub level football, so he played for one of the local pubs in Arbroath.
Kelly would come and watch me play on a Sunday morning, pub team in the town, and you would see her playing at the side with Sam, and you would think, she can play. It was pretty soon after that that we decided to look into the town, and Inchcape Strollers were there, and you thought, right, okay, we'll stick with this, because you try a few things with your kids when you're younger, but the football was for Kelly, and she did very well.
Well, there was a girls team in Arbroath. I think it was under 11s, and I was 6 years old, so you can imagine the kit was massive, absolutely drowned me. I think my first ever game was right at the sea in Arbroath, Victoria Park, and I scored a goal. I nutmegged the goalkeeper, first ever game. I remember my dad being there and watching. Once we got to primary 6, you could play football for the school team. A lot of the girls that you speak to my age and years younger than me have played boys football, because when they first started enjoying football, wanting to play football, there was no girls teams. And the head teacher at the time told me continuously that football wasn't for girls. So I remember my mum being up at the school, my dad up at the school, on the phone to the school. My mum's told me that it got to the point where she was going to speak to the local councillor.
Came to a point where she wanted to play for the school. She was playing netball for the school as well, but wanted to play the football. And it was only when a couple of guys took the team on that they insisted if they were to take it on, Kelly had to play.
I'd write, I'm going to be a footballer, and on everything at school, what do you want to be when you're older? I want to be a footballer. But I think, you know, when I was that young, you just think you're going to become a footballer. You don't go and watch Arbroath on a Saturday at Gayfield and think, oh, I wish I was a guy so that I could do that. I always just thought, I want to be a footballer. We
just kept her insistent at school. We went up and spoke to them and just tried to push and push and push just to get her to get in.
So in primary 7 I got to represent the school. So 11 years old, the cup final is at Gayfield Park, and I started for the team and I scored a goal. So I think I was the first girl to score in a Waters Cup final, which was unbelievable. After being told for so long I wasn't allowed to represent the school, to start that game, I mean, I was tiny. You're playing on an 11-side big park at Gayfield, and it was just an unbelievably proud moment for me. After under 15s, there was no further team. It was a small club. We just had an under 13s and an under 15s, so I made the natural move of going to Forfar, where there was a proper pathway all the way up to women's football. So my parents started driving me through to Forfar. Both of them have worked full time their whole lives, and it was a case of finish and get me through to Forfar, or finish and I've got the bus through to Forfar, but go and pick me up and bring me back.
She was travelling every 2 nights a week back from Stirling to Forfar to train, and it was just obvious that couldn't continue. So the Celtic thing came along.
Celtic coming in, you know, I was just drawn to it. I was drawn to the size of the club, to the team at the time. It was a really strong team. It had players in it that I was living at the academy with, my closest friends, but there was always just something about the club. I was just drawn to it. And in January 2013 it happened.
Back in 2013, when Kelly first came in, I was the assistant manager of the women's team at the time, and yeah, I remember her coming in and you know, she done really well at Forfar, and then came in here, and it was quite a quiet character, but certainly knew some players that we had anyway. But you know, during that time we had a lot of big characters in the team. You know, I think of a number of different people that, you know, were quite heavyweights at that point, and yeah, she's once they kind of moved on in their career, moved on in different phases and different times, she started to become that kind of leader that you look for, and probably grew into the kind of leadership role that she's in just now.
Back then, we trained at a ridiculous time. Women's football wasn't anybody's priority, I don't think. We had nice kit. Did we have enough kit? Nah, probably not. We trained at Barrowfield 8 till 10 at night. You know, we're going home to get up and train first thing the next morning. I was part of the National Performance Centre. We were training at 7:15 or something in the morning. So leaving Barrowfield to train not even 10 hours later than that. People leaving to go and work the next day. Girls leaving to go to school the next day. It was just sort of, that was the only time that Barrowfield was free, so it's the only time that you guys can train.
It was tough. It was tough in general for the club and the way that the club was going. There was numerous players that, as I said, that had moved on, and Kelly could have been part of that.
I think things changed globally after the World Cup in France, and Scotland had qualified for that. The games were played at massive stadiums. There was good crowds. It was televised all over the world. There was great audience numbers, and you know, things had started changing slowly before then. Little things, cup finals were on BBC Alba, and there was a little bit more publicity. The clubs were starting to take a little bit of an interest, probably because the teams down south were doing well. You know, the Man Cities and the Arsenals, they'd really started funding their women's side, and they were being successful. They were drawing in crowds, and really since then I think the clubs have realised that there's a market for this game, and it's just been, I don't even think it's been baby steps since then. It's almost been leaps. You know, the fact that we now have 3 really professional teams in the country, and little 6-year-old Kelly that just looked at men and thought, I want to be a professional footballer, could now look at women and be like, well, I actually can be a professional footballer. You know, it's crazy to think where we were in January 2013 and where we are now in September 2021. I would never have believed you if you told me that half of this would have happened in the time that I was still playing football. So I've got a couple of my favourite jerseys here at home. This one's my first ever Celtic top from my debut season back in 2013. This one here was presented to me on the night of my 150th game, as you can see. But on top of that, you can see down here I've got a workstation, so I'm not just the Celtic FC women's captain, I'm also a chartered accountant, and this is not just a shrine to Celtic, it's also my office. Isn't it, Paddy?
I'm Kevin Doherty, an audit partner in Deloitte, and I'm Kelly's boss. So Kelly joined us 6 years ago as part of our graduate scheme, and working in Deloitte, like any Big Four, is quite a challenging environment. You're working on big engagements, you're having to study for your accountancy exams. So when I found out Kelly was the captain of Celtic, there was a bit of me thinking, how are you going to balance this? How are you going to keep this going? But to her credit, she's done it. She's first time passes on her exams, done a fantastic job on work, and obviously she's a Celtic legend as well.
It's just amazing. I'm so grateful to my work for being so flexible, to Fran and the guys for being so understanding. And between myself and the two of them, we've just made it work.
It's very hard. It's very hard because if you think about somebody playing football in a professional setup where you must train every day and at the same time, you know, have a full-time job somewhere else, while other girls in the league are resting, or you got a very tough session, the next day you get up late, you know, you allow the body to recover, she needs to get up early. It's a job that involves, you know, maths, involves the brain to be used, not relaxation. So it's especially challenging for her. So the way that she managed to complement both, to mix both and be very successful at both is very impressive.
I think we just worked through it together naturally. It was, you know, told her always to be open and honest with what she needed in terms of how to make that work, and that's what she's always done. She's always given advance notice of what she needs, and she works around that, and there's been no issues at all. You know, she's a very strong team player. Everyone really likes her. Everyone holds her in very high regard. Clients, the staff working with her, and you can see a bit of that football spirit come through, and yeah, it's just all round great.
We'd played a couple of League Cup games under Fran. He was new in, and obviously everybody's trying to impress a new manager. It was live on TV. I knew that people were watching. We'd conceded a really frustrating goal just after half-time, and Sarah Ewan scored an absolute belter to bring us back level, and the game was really equal. We got a corner in the final minutes and you're going up, and I don't know, you're just, I wasn't even thinking I'm going to score. I was just thinking, right, make the run you're supposed to make, where am I meant to be, who's meant to be doing what. And I just remember thinking to myself, do you know what, a couple of times I've ran in and the ball's ended up being at the back post. I'm just going to hold back. I know my runner will run right in. I'm just going to hold back. And I just remember this ball coming towards me, thinking I've got time to take a touch, just keep it down, just keep it down. And yeah, I saw Lee dive and it go past her hand, and then it was just total elation. I ran towards the dugout. Everybody was going mental over there.
To get the winner at the time that we got it in the last kick of the game, and the fact that it was her, you know, I was absolutely delighted. So after the game, obviously, you know, I went to her and I said that, you know, how proud I was of her, and you know, especially in that week, it was a very emotional moment, and I still remember it. It was very, very special, and that was again, you know, first game in front of our fans as well. It will make it even more special.
My dad's got the top that I wore that night framed up in Arbroath, because I think he still watches the clip of that goal back every night before he goes to sleep. If he doesn't still watch it, then he's certainly watched it for about a year. I used to get a text every night at the back of 10, just watched your goal, or constant.
I don't know if phones can wear out, but I think my phone's getting worn out by watching it. It's still on my phone, still watch it every now and again. I would like to speak to the Gaelic commentator, tell me exactly what he says, because I don't know what he says. I need to get that translated so that I can tell what he says, but yeah, can't stop watching it. Great.
Historically, there's only really been Glasgow City. They've had the run of the league for years and years, and then ourselves and Rangers announced that we were both going professional, and now there's real competition. We had Rangers away, and it was almost a winner takes all. If we beat Rangers, we are favourites for Champions League. If they beat us, they're favourites for Champions League, and that's that. It was that simple. You had to win. We had to win that game to have any chance of finish second. The best possible start. You know, I popped up at the back post, free of any marker, and put the ball in the net. We were 1-0 up in this massive game, these crazy celebrations. I'd started the game, and Craig had been left out that day, and there's nobody else in the team that I'd like to celebrate a goal with against Rangers. I ran straight to Craigie, and I celebrated with Craigie and at the side of the pitch.
When the corner came up, I knew there was just a feeling that I knew something was going to happen, and as soon as the header went in, I just looked at her, and she just like clocked my eyes, and when we ran over, she just, it gets you quite emotional because it meant so much to us for being Celtic fans, and obviously playing a team like Rangers. It was something that we've never done before, and it was like a moment that we will cherish.
Rangers equalised. Frustratingly, it was quite a windy day, and Rangers equalised through a high shot, but Sarah Ewan's popped up in the last few minutes with another header, and that was it. We'd won the game, and we'd put ourselves into such a good position for Champions League. We still had, I think, 3 games to play. One of them was Hibs, that we narrowly won, but that game against Rangers was key.
And then the incredible season happened. We finished second, got to Champions League. Something that I never thought that I would be able to achieve, as well as being with one of my best friends. We all spoke about it, like at Scotland squads years ago, like imagine this, imagine that, but then we made it a reality. So for us, that was incredible, and especially to do that with her as my captain. It was another, yet again, a special moment for us.
And there I was, writing a huddle talk on a chartered flight over to Norway to play against Levante in the Champions League. It was surreal. I'd practiced the huddle talk so many times. I'd read over the notes on my phone. I read them in the changing room. Every time I read them, I teared up, and I had to tell myself, stop this. Like, you need to stop. You need to be composed when you say this in the huddle. You cannot show your emotion. The girls might be emotional, but you cannot show your emotion. You need to be the strong one. And it was hard.
I knew that Kelly was kind of worried about not worried, but how she was going to talk within the huddle just before the game, because I knew she would probably be emotional, she'd probably be thinking about a lot of things, and I definitely noticed in the changing room that she was slightly quieter than what she normally is. So I just had a little word in her ear of, listen, we've made it, because it was emotional for me as well, because you know, when I think back about the times that we had to go through, this was the one moment that we were both really wanted and really looking forward to. And I'm glad that we've done it together. You know, that last game against Motherwell, and you know, I've said before that herself was one of the first people that I was thinking of as soon as the final whistle went. You know, and I was, yeah, just delighted that we managed to do it together.
I took a really deep breath and I remembered every single bit of it. I had to pause at one point before I went on to the famous quote about Celtic jerseys not shrinking, and some of the girls were in tears. I think Chloe Logan's told me that she had two of them either side and she just kept squeezing them tighter and tighter because she could feel their emotion. And then we did ourselves proud against Levante. Professionally, it would have been nice to go that step further and get into the final against Rosenborg, but we ran a really good team, really close. We had chances that we missed. Yes, they had chances that they missed. It's always going to be the case when you're playing against such a good team from such a well-established and good league. But we really did ourselves proud in that game.
Kelly will walk away eventually from Celtic and know that she has been a role model for many within the girls' academy. It's certainly something that they look up to her as a proper role model, and somebody that they'll look at and say, wow, can I maybe be Kelly Clark one day?
I just love seeing that side of Kelly, and people looking at your daughter and thinking, wow, you know, it's a very proud, you know, it's very proud to be a dad and see that.
The best word is a role model, somebody who is passionate about the game and who represents Celtic in the best manner possible.
You know, someone who's balanced a professional career and playing football at a very high level. Role model for anyone, imagine.
When we both hang up our boots, I know that I will look back and I will remember all the times that we've had the laughs at training, or all the journeys and the celebrations that we've had on a Sunday. So for me, that's how I will see her at the end of it all.
I'm just so glad that I've played a part in giving 6-year-old Kelly an opportunity to live 6-year-old Kelly's dreams.